Mary Catherine, before we do anything else, I want to talk about the Travis Manion run because
Yes.
you've meant to talk about it for 3 weeks in a row and you forgot. So let's start there. Tell us about the Travis Manion Foundation and the run.
Sure. So we do a run every year, a 5K called the 9/11 Heroes Run that you can sign up for at 911heroesrun.com. And it's a wonderful thing that brings together civilians, families of the fallen, veterans, and first responders to hang out together to remember 9/11, to remember the heroes of that day, the people that we lost, and in the wars subsequent. And it's a really good time. It's a wholesome time. It will make you feel good about the country, which is something that's like sort of hard to come by during election season sometimes. So 911heroesrun.com, we have them all over the nation and all over the world. I'll be running in Northern Virginia with all my kids, I guess. I got to find a stroller to put two of them in. And and so we're going to be out there doing it. If you join us, you will love this group. You will meet a bunch of great people. It is a wonderful way to honor the fallen and to think about the people who sacrificed for this country. So 911heroesrun.com. Did I say it enough? Like a book plug?
No, you need to say it 7 times, according to Frank Luntz. In Words That Work, he says, if you want anyone to remember anything, you have to say it 7 times. So 911run.com.
911
Did I get it right?
Heroes.
Not
911heroesrun.com.
nine. Is there a slash between the 9 and the 11, or is it 911heroes.com
No,
without any? Okay,
no
911
punctuation.
Heroes Run. I'll write it down.
Yep,
911heroesrun.com. And it's all over the country on different dates, right?
that's correct. Ours is September 22nd in Northern Virginia. I will be there, and it'll be a good time.
Travis Manion Foundation is a fabulous group, and Mary Catherine's been working with them for years. When I go down to watch and no longer participate in the Marine Corps Marathon, they always have two groups stand out, Semper Fi Fund and the Travis Manion Fund. Mary Catherine, I just asked Matt Continetti, and I'm going to also ask you off air. I've got JD Vance coming up, and I have a question set ready, and I don't give them away. Dana Bash is
Right.
my friend. I'm sure she's your friend as well. I was very disappointed with that interview because I thought it was all softballs. What did you make of the interview?
Yeah, I thought she didn't follow up in the ways that one would hope. I also can I make another Dana Bash point, which is in this discussion about Arlington Cemetery. She was interviewing Tulsi Gabbard, and she talked to her about uh, you know Trump being at Arlington, and she went really hard in the paint, harder than she went on many Kamala Harris and Tim Walz questions about Trump's presence at Arlington and whether it violated this rule. And Tulsi Gabbard said, "Hey, what I saw was this solemn observation. These families asked him to be here. It was important to them. They wanted video and photos of it because their loved ones have not gotten attention." And Dana Bash said, "Well, I understand that they invited them to honor these people who died about 2 years ago." And Tulsi Gabbard immediately said,
Oh,
3 years. She said 3 years ago. And that to me is an encapsulation. I don't mean to like just go after her. That is an encapsulation of this conformity culture in media where they are just sort of ignorant of the Afghanistan withdrawal facts and of the impact that that had on the veteran community, to families of the fallen, to the 13 families that were involved. If you don't know that happened 3 years ago while you're doing that interview, it's a problem. And it
let me
reflects.
give you let me give you an adjacent anecdote. When Tom Cotton was on Meet the Press with another friend of mine, Kristen Welker, this weekend, she interrupted the senator to say Kamala Harris was at the dignified return of remains ceremony in Dover. She wasn't. Senator Cotton didn't rebuke her because he did not know. I've confirmed with Team Cotton. He was 80% sure that
Right.
the vice
Yeah.
president wasn't there, but he didn't want to say it. That's adjacent. Again, Kristen's my friend, but there is this conformity culture. I know where it comes from because I worked at NBC. Whenever anyone in the legacy media says anything remotely pro Trump, they get hammered by the Beltway insiders on the left. And I mean hammered, Mary Catherine. Did you experience that ever at CNN?
Oh, of course. I mean, just thinking that RussiaGate probably wasn't true, which it turned out I was right. And urging my colleagues not to jump to all these conclusions was considered basically having a third eye in the middle of your forehead, right? So there is a problem here, but it bothers me when there's real pain when it comes to school closures or the Afghanistan withdrawal, when there are real victims who are hurt by an administration they happen to align with, that doesn't mean those victims don't exist. But to them, that's what ends up happening. They erase children who didn't get to go to school because they don't want to hurt Randy Weingarten and the Biden administration. They erase the families of the fallen from the Abbey Gate disaster because it's inconvenient to the Biden administration to talk about that. And they've been left out of every State of the Union. Their names have never been spoken by Biden or Kamala Harris, to my knowledge. And they are now getting attention because of this, I think, fake outrage about Trump. But I'm glad those families have a spotlight on them at least a little bit, because those
it's the
children deserve it.
Streisand effect. Mary Katherine, you know that before any serious interview, a host will do a lot of work to try and make news. That's my objective. Get something that is newsworthy that Dwayne can type up, we can put on the website and push out. So I am going to start my interview by asking about Tim Walz's 30 trips to China and whether J.D. Vance intends it to be an issue. Matt Continetti brought to my attention two other things. What does he find most challenging about the campaign? Does he think his message is getting out? And are we in a constitutional crisis? Because we kind of are, because Joe Biden really isn't there. And I think no one doubts that anymore. What would you ask J.D. Vance if you were in my chair in 30 minutes?
Well, clearly I'm sort of exercised about this Arlington story, so I feel like I would maybe ask him about the Abbey Gate families and this dust up, which strikes me as just like such a cynical line of coverage by press and is actually disrespectful to the families. So there's that.
How would you phrase that, Mary Katherine? Help me out a little bit. How would you phrase that?
Why you gotta get me out of bed and ask me tough questions, Hugh?
I got this is in 30 minutes. I got a list, but that's a great question. How do I phrase the Arlington question?
Ooh, dang it! I'm gonna have to text you later, Hugh. I don't know. The other one I was gonna give you is. The other one I was going to give you is boring because I'm interested in the tariff policy and like how you argue.
Oh, no, never. No. We're not going to talk about tariffs on the Hugh Hewitt show. God forbid. You know, Mary Katherine, that's like death on wheels to the audience, right? You know
that's why I gave you the first one, because I was like, oh, he's going to hate this tariff question.
What would you, if I run out of time, if JD's doing, what some interviews go south, they go yes, no. And so you're if I'm gasping for air, what do I ask about tariffs? Because I hate tariffs unless they're directed at China.
Right. So here's the point of the tariffs question, which you can take it a different direction. You can ask him about Kamala's insane price gouging argument. Which leads to but I think the real question is, again, we're getting into policy and it gets more boring, is how you actually do bring prices down for people. But I'd love to hear him take a shot at this insane price gouging theory from her.
Oh, well, yeah, interesting. The answer is very easy to me on bringing down prices, and we'll close here. If you produce more energy and you drive down the cost of energy, you drive down the production of food cost, and you drive down the transportation of the food to the supermarket. So we need to overproduce energy so that the world, it's all one market. And I don't know that Democrats understand it's all one market. And the more that we produce, the more. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think they understand markets at all, or strategically ignorant so that they can do what they want to do. Yeah.
Well, that makes it better. I'll tie it to price gouging, because tariffs, by the way, will raise prices, correct?
Yes. Well, and that's what I'm concerned about, is like, you don't want to end up hurting people that you're trying to help, which is, I don't want to give Republicans credit for only intentions, just as the press is always giving Democrats credit for only intentions, right? You want to investigate what your policies are actually going to do for people.
Yeah, I remember Trump put tariffs on aluminum early in his administration, and I was hell on wheels on that because it was such a dumb policy. We don't get aluminum from China. But tariffs on everything from China, I'm okay with. It will force the market to find alternative sources of supply for whatever we are getting. The people who aren't in favor of that's Apple, right? They can't get out of China. They're trapped.
Yeah, and it's a pretty dirty scene with the way that they do business there, as is often the case doing business in China.
One good, one not so good, but I got 9 questions for JD, and 2 of them are from you, and 2 of them are from Matt Continetti. So thank you, Mary Katherine. Everyone,
First question for you.
The Arlington visit is a very good question. I will do that.